Welcome to a new deep dive. For a lot of us, that word networking, it just conjures up these, well, awkward exchanges, maybe
Yeah.
forced smiles, a general feeling of phoniness.
Oh, absolutely. That feeling is so common.
But diving into Keith Ferrazzi's Never Eat Alone,
Hmm.
wow, that
Yeah.
completely reshapes my perspective. This isn't just another guide to, making contacts.
No, not at all.
It feels more like a profound blueprint
Yeah.
for building a life that's really rich with purpose, opportunity, and, genuinely meaningful relationships. It's a real shift.
It absolutely is. And what's truly fascinating is how Ferrazzi, drawing from, decades of his own experience, argues that moving beyond that kind of transactional idea.
Yeah, the what's in it for me thing.
Exactly. Moving beyond that and embracing true generosity, real human connection, well, that can transform everything. Your career trajectory, even your personal well-being.
Hmm.
He makes this really compelling case for why being genuinely well-connected isn't just a nice-to-have anymore. It's foundational, a must-have in today's world. So we're going to try and unpack the most important nuggets, maybe the surprising truths from his work, to help you apply these insights directly to your own life.
Let's start right there then, because that negative gut reaction to networking is just so common. We picture the schmoozer, right? Or someone just out for themselves. But Ferrazzi himself, he realized this was a huge misperception, almost like a cultural blind spot. What was his journey to figuring that out?
Well, it's quite an interesting personal story, actually. Ferrazzi came from this working-class background, Pittsburgh steel town, and then suddenly he's at Harvard Business School.
Wow, quite a leap.
Huge leap. And he talks about feeling this deep insecurity, seeing other students who, despite this elite education, often lack the basic people skills he'd instinctively used his whole life.
Interesting.
And he recognized that the American ideal, that sort of John Wayne individualism, the lone figure pulling himself up by his bootstraps.
That's a rugged individual.
Right. It often, kind of ironically, demonizes conscious relationship building. Sees it as manipulative, maybe, instead of just a genuine human skill.
And he connects it back to something really simple, doesn't he? Like what he saw as a caddy on a golf course.
He does, just friends helping friends, with absolutely no expectation of an immediate quid pro quo.
That's crucial because it shatters that ingrained transactional view of networking, doesn't it? It shows true connection isn't about immediate repayment.
Exactly. It's about creating a flow of value. That's the profound insight here. For Ferrazzi, connecting isn't this tit-for-tat exchange.
Okay.
It's about generously sharing stuff, knowledge, resources, time, empathy, compassion, providing genuine value to others. And by focusing only on giving, you coincidentally build this incredibly valuable network that just naturally becomes your greatest asset. It's a completely flipped approach to traditional networking.
Right.
He saw that the people who consistently succeed, they always had help.
Yeah.
And building that deep loyalty means you just can't keep score.
So, okay, if we boil this down for our own lives, what does this new definition really mean? Because he flat out says, people do business with people they know and like.
Yeah.
And it applies beyond just business, too.
Oh, absolutely. That phrase is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. It resonates across, everything. It's not just about getting ahead professionally. Ferrazzi cites research showing our overall well-being, our happiness, even how long we live, it's all profoundly dictated by the community and connections we build around us.
Yeah.
That old idea of self-help is almost kind of wrong. We fundamentally need other people, especially now, Corporate loyalty isn't really a thing anymore for many of us. We're like free agents.
That makes sense.
So our personal networks, they provide the security, the opportunities, even the meaning we maybe once looked for from an employer.
That makes so much sense. Okay, so if we buy into this paradigm shift, how do we actually intentionally build these crucial connections? Where do you even start?
It all starts with having a really clear vision. Ferrazzi is very insistent on the power of goal setting. He defines a goal as a dream with a deadline.
I like that. A dream with a deadline.
Yeah. It turns that vague wish into a concrete mission. He points out that successful people, whether they're athletes or CEOs, they know exactly what they're aiming for. You need that North Star.
He also talks about finding your blue flame, that spot where your passion and your ability really intersect. It's about figuring out what you genuinely love and what you're good at, not just what you feel you should be doing. Which I guess takes some pretty serious self-reflection. maybe uncomfortable.
It absolutely does, and it's a step a lot of people unfortunately skip over. But once you've kind of identified that mission, the core tool Ferrazzi gives us is the Relationship Action Plan, the RAP.
RAP. Huh.
And this isn't just like thinking about it or wishful thinking, it's a written plan.
Written down.
Yes. To develop your goals, connect those goals to specific people, specific resources, and then strategically figure out the best way to reach out with generosity.
Generosity first.
Always. He gives this great example of Jamie, who used her RAP to successfully switch from a corporate job to becoming a high school teacher in a really good district. She mapped out her goals in like 90-day, 1-year, 3-year chunks.
Wow.
And the emphasis on writing it down is key. He argues an unwritten wish often just stays. Well, a wish.
That RAP sounds like serious work, foundational stuff. But it's not just about planning meticulously, is it? There's also a big emphasis on boldness. He calls one section the genius of audacity.
Yeah. Can you give an example of that?
He opens with this really powerful story about his own dad. Working class background, remember?
Oh.
His dad audaciously reaches out to Alex McKenna, the CEO of Kennametal, asking for help getting young Keith into a better school.
Just like that.
Just like that. And that single bold act fundamentally changed Ferrazzi's life. Such a vivid reminder that, it never hurts to ask.
The fear of rejection is so real, though, especially when you're putting yourself out there.
Totally. But Ferrazzi stresses the goal isn't one single yes or finding the perfect union, like in dating.
Okay.
It's about consistently putting yourself out there to create an enriching circle. He even admits he still feels that fear sometimes.
Really? Even him?
Yeah. But he pushes past it by remembering his dad's bold move. The lessons from that big wheel tricycle story he tells. The goal isn't to eliminate the fear, it's to act despite it.
That's a really useful distinction. And speaking of staying focused, he also talks about building a personal board of advisors. Who would that be for someone just starting out?
Good question. These are basically individuals you trust, people you turn to for advice, for guidance, maybe critical feedback.
Okay.
They give you that essential reinforcement you need to stay focused on your goals because, let's face it, even the best plans benefit from someone else looking them over, right?
Definitely. A sounding board.
Exactly. Your trusted sounding board.
Yeah.
And they often become some of your most valuable connections down the line.
Okay, so we've got the strategy, the goals, the RAP, the audacity to ask. But once that framework's in place, how do we actually start doing it? Ferrazzi is pretty blunt about avoiding cold calls, right?
Oh, yeah, he doesn't mince words. Cold calls are for suckers, he says. Insists he's never made one.
Wow. So what's the alternative?
He transforms them into warm calls. And he lays out this brilliant 4-rule strategy. He used the example of reaching out to some guy named Serge at Sony.
Okay, what are the rules?
First, convey credibility. Mention a familiar person or institution that connects you, like you mentioned John Partilla or WebMD. Build that bridge.
Makes sense.
Second, state your value proposition clearly. What can you do for them? Not the other way around.
Crucial.
Third, impart urgency and convenience. Be ready to meet on their terms. Make it easy for them. And fourth, always be prepared to offer a compromise to get a definite follow-up. Don't leave it hanging. This proactive persistence, he says, is absolutely key, even if you get silence at first, like he did with Serge.
That takes some nerve, though.
It does. He also talks a lot about managing the gatekeepers, the administrative assistants who often hold the keys to the kingdom. He shares a pretty raw story about his own assistant, Jennifer, and someone named Mary at Deloitte. What's the big takeaway there?
The big takeaway is that these assistants aren't just, answering phones. They're often incredibly trusted friends, advocates, protectors of their boss's time and interests.
Gatekeepers, literally.
Exactly. And if you don't respect that, you're going to have a tough time. So it raises the question, how do you turn a gatekeeper into an ally? Maybe even a champion?
Yeah, how?
The perfect example he gives is this guy, Kent Blossel, an ad sales rep. Kent consistently treated Ferrazzi's assistant, Jennifer, with amazing deference and kindness. Brought her chocolates, flowers. Totally. Until she was so convinced this guy was great and had value, she basically insisted Ferrazzi meet him.
Wow.
And it led to a really powerful connection for Deloitte. It just shows how respect, maybe a bit of humor and compassion can open almost any gate.
So beyond these strategic calls, he really pushes the idea of never eat alone. And that's not just about grabbing lunch, is it?
No, it's much broader. It's about making yourself visible, nurturing connections in all sorts of settings, often informal ones.
Like what kind of settings?
He suggests things like intimate dinners, inviting people to share a workout or a hobby, going to special events together, even volunteering.
Outside the office.
Exactly. He argues, and I think most of us feel this, you learn way more about someone over a meal or maybe struggling through a tough workout together
Yeah.
than you ever would in a stuffy office meeting. People just naturally loosen up, reveal more of themselves outside those formal structures.
And the rule that underpins all of this, follow up or fail. He says it's the key to success in any field. What's the advice there?
Be prompt. Follow up within 12 to 24 hours of meeting someone.
Okay, quick turnaround.
Yeah. And always reference something specific you talked about, shared interests, a point they made, jog their memory. He says the digital world is just too noisy. Your name won't stick unless you make that effort.
Good point.
He even advises getting commitments down in writing, not like a formal contract, but just a friendly, concise email reminder. Great chatting. Looking forward to.
Got it. Keep the momentum going. Conferences are another big opportunity. And he talks about Deloitte using a conference commando strategy. Sounds intense. What did they do?
It was incredibly strategic. They'd research who was attending before the event, create these one-page bios on key people for their partners. They even strategized seating charts at dinners to make sure the right introductions happened.
Whoa, that's next level.
Totally. It transformed what could be chaotic events into these highly orchestrated opportunities for connection. And it led to massive business growth for Deloitte. It just shows the power of preparation.
And related to that, he really emphasizes being a speaker yourself. Why is that such a game changer for connecting?
Well, speaking engagements give you instant credibility. And what he calls faux fame, it just makes it significantly easier to meet people afterwards.
Right, people come to you.
Exactly. He uses Susan Cain as an example, the author of Quiet, an avowed introvert. She gave one of the most watched TED Talks ever, despite her natural shyness, how she just practiced and prepared like crazy. Her story proves that even introverts can use public speaking really effectively for these high-impact, short-burst networking opportunities. It's about leveraging that platform.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. We live in this super connected age, right? But often feel totally overwhelmed by social media. How does Ferrazzi suggest we handle this information overload, but still use these platforms effectively?
Yeah, that's a big one. He emphasizes something called the power of the fringe. It taps into what sociologists call the strength of weak ties.
Strength of weak ties, what's that?
It's this idea popularized by Mark Granovetter that was kind of revolutionary. It suggests our most valuable new information and opportunities often don't come from our close friends, our inner circle.
Really? Where then?
They come from these less intense, more diverse acquaintances, people who exist in different worlds than we do. Malcolm Gladwell put it really simply. Acquaintances represent a source of social power, and the more acquaintances you have, the more powerful you are.
Huh. Okay. So it's not just about your best buddies. He mentions Robert Scoble as someone who mastered this.
Yeah.
Curating this huge fringe network on Twitter.
Exactly. Scoble's approach wasn't about having thousands of deep personal relationships online. That's impossible.
Right.
It was about using that network for an incredible flow of valuable tech intelligence. He basically became a sensor for new ideas and trends by managing thousands of these weaker ties.
So how do we manage our online presence to do that without just, clicking connect with everyone? He specifically talks about taming the LinkedIn beast.
Yeah, his advice there is crucial. Don't just mindlessly accept or send invitations.
Okay.
Instead, on platforms like LinkedIn, only connect with people you know well enough that you could confidently introduce them to someone else in your network.
Ah, that's a good filter.
It is. And he recommends making at least one quality introduction a month, leveraging the platform thoughtfully, with purpose, not just racking up numbers.
And this leads right into content, doesn't it? He says content is the key vehicle for building trust online, especially beyond people you already know personally.
Yes, is how people get to know who you are, what you stand for.
And he introduces this acronym, GVAC. What's that stand for?
Generosity, vulnerability, accountability, and candor.
GVAC. Okay, why are those so important for online trust? It seems counterintuitive, maybe, to be vulnerable online.
That's a really important question because so many people online try to be like perfect or slick. They curate this flawless image.
Yeah, the highlight reel.
Exactly. But Ferrazzi argues it's actually your humanity, your authentic self, your willingness to be vulnerable, even admitting failures that makes people trust you. Mm. He quotes James Altucher, who says something like, "In a world where so much competition is dishonest, if you're the one person who's truly honest, you'll stand out." GVAC is about showing that authentic self online.
He also stresses having a unique point of view, speaking in a language that actually matters to your audience. Like every headline is a pitch.
Absolutely. You need to cut through the noise. And it's not just about creating content either. He talks about curating other people's stuff and even co-creating with your audience.
What does that look like? Co-creating.
It means giving your audience a voice, a stake in what you're doing, making them feel invested. He even suggests, pretty radically, going public with failures.
Failures, certainly.
Yeah, not to like wallow in them,
Yeah.
but because it shows you have nothing to hide. It shows that success usually comes from learning through trying ambitious things and sometimes messing up. It builds incredible trust when you're transparent like that.
Okay, but what about people who think, well, I don't really have enough intellectual property to share? What's Ferrazzi's response to that?
He basically says, look, knowledge is free. It's everywhere now. The real power isn't just having knowledge. It's your ability to distribute it effectively, to target
That
it.
distribution.
Yeah. He gives this example of a young consultant who created an onboarding white paper just for his own firm's sales team. He didn't invent anything new.
Right.
But by organizing and distributing existing knowledge in a really useful way for a specific group, he turned himself into a valuable knowledge broker.
That makes sense. This whole deep dive, it really hammers home that success is absolutely not a solo journey. He talks about social arbitrage. What is that exactly?
Social arbitrage is basically making yourself indispensable by focusing on making everyone around you successful.
Okay, helping others win.
Precisely. He mentions Vernon Jordan, calls him a modern-day power broker. How did Jordan do it? By constantly connecting influential people like Lou Gerstner, Colin Powell. His influence grew not because he hoarded power, but because he helped others achieve their goals. The core idea is don't wait to be asked. If someone mentions a problem, your immediate thought should be, how can my network help solve this?
Proactive helping.
Exactly. This continuous, open exchange of favors, of intelligence, that's how real power and influence are built today. He shares a story about Hank Birnbaum, whose bag company went from $25 million to $110 million, mainly by leveraging Ferrazzi's network.
Yeah.
It just shows that bridging different worlds, connecting different groups is a key trait of successful people.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And this leads to his idea of pinging all the time. He calls it Miracle Grow for your blooming garden of friends and associates.
Yeah.
How do you do that effectively without just being annoying?
Good question. He suggests a simple system, categorizing contacts like 1, 2, 3 based on importance to your mission, and then recommends frequent, relevant, and intimate pings, especially for those Category 1 mission-critical people. These aren't generic hope you're well emails.
Right, it needs to be specific.
Yeah. Birthdays, for example, are a great pinging occasion. He mentions Kent Blosel again. Pinging on a birthday feels personal. It cuts through the usual holiday noise. It's about thoughtful, consistent touch points that show you care.
This all sounds like a continuous cycle, which leads to another loop. Find mentors, find mentees, repeat. What's the value he sees in that ongoing process?
It's this lifelong thing, right? A reciprocal process of giving and receiving where both sides learn and grow. He talks about his own mentor at Deloitte, Pat LeConto, and makes the point that finding a talented, experienced mentor who genuinely invests in you is often way more important than salary or prestige, especially early in your career.
Good advice.
And then on the flip side, Ferrazzi's own young mentees. They help him stay current, challenge his thinking, see the world in new ways. It's truly symbiotic. It fuels growth for everyone involved.
Now, this next one is definitely provocative. Balance is BS. He argues that trying to neatly separate work, family, friends, it's a myth. It's a pretty bold statement, isn't it?
It is bold, but he makes a compelling case. He argues that a truly relationship-driven career isn't separate from life. It is a way of living. Professional and personal happiness are deeply intertwined.
Integrated.
Yeah, integrated. He suggests the problem isn't having too many people in our lives. It's maybe not having enough genuine connections across those different areas. True balance, he thinks, comes from weaving life's different parts into a cohesive whole, not building walls between them.
And connecting this to the bigger picture, it's about building your own clan, network, tribe, or family. He talks about creating your own group or club based on shared interests,
Sure.
like he did with the Lincoln Award for Business Excellence. How did that pan out?
It was huge for him. That initiative quickly connected him to basically every major CEO in Chicago. Why? Because he created a shared purpose, a community. He even points back to Benjamin Franklin's Gento, just a group of tradesmen focused on mutual improvement, as a historical example of a community leveraging collective success. It's about proactively building your own support system, your own intellectual playground.
He even brings in the Dalai Lama, saying his approach shows how connecting should advance rather than compromise your principles.
That's powerful, using your network for something bigger.
It really is. The Dalai Lama used powerful stories, powerful content to rally global support for Tibet. It shows how aligning your connections with a higher purpose can create immense influence. It's a reminder that your network, if you choose it wisely, can help you fight for the things you truly believe in.
So this whole deep dive, it really seems to point towards a fundamental shift, doesn't it? Away from that rugged individualism of the past,
Yeah,
towards an era of interdependence, interconnectivity.
exactly. It's about learning how to engineer serendipity, actively creating your own luck, basically.
Engineer serendipity, I like that. Yeah, by being open to opportunities, building diverse networks, intentionally putting yourself in places where interesting things are happening, those spikes of talent, like Heidi Roizen did in Silicon Valley. As John Perry Barlow famously said, fortune prefers the networked mind. It's about recognizing that your connections aren't just these external tools you use. They are the very fabric of your success, your well-being, who you are.
So you see, Ferrazzi isn't really asking you to just network in that old transactional way that, let's face it, most of us dread.
Not at all.
He's inviting you into something much deeper, a deeply human, yes, incredibly strategic, but also profoundly rewarding way of living. It's about being generous, vulnerable, authentic, and always reaching out with genuine intention.
Yeah, the true insight here, I think, is that our relationships aren't just an external tool we wield for success. They're woven into the very fabric of who we are, how we feel, how we act, and ultimately what we manage to achieve. Who you know really does determine who you are, how you feel, how you act, and what you achieve. So maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. In this increasingly interdependent world where everyone's success really is linked, how much time are you truly ready to invest in making others successful, knowing that the rising tide, well, it can lift all ships, including your own?